And we'll see if Flame's going to get it here again, but Vici on the blue side now, LGD over on the red. Zed getting banned there by Vici, so more respect to Wayless there as well. Azir again for LGD. This has been very common today, I've noticed. Lots of similar bans throughout both of the series between teams.
Absolutely, not a lot of adaptation. It's surprising to see. I guess Vici, there's not really a champion they look to ban. Like, it was just a team fight comp against more of a poke comp. The poke comp didn't work out, so I expect they'll draft differently, not necessarily needing to ban different champions.
Yeah, we'll see there as well. Is Ari going to get a ban there for Vici? Haven't seen too much Ari today, actually. I don't think she's been played at all, but respect there to the power of the champion on 5.21, and I love this as well. Rumble banned away from, actually, it's from Carry, never mind.
Yeah, you were going to say Flame, obviously, there, but just banning it away. I guess
maybe
Flame's probably happy, so he doesn't have to play it.
Maybe banning it away from Flame as well, just to keep everybody happy. I mean, Flame has had mixed results on Rumble, not quite the same player Acorn is, and of course that will change a lot for LGD as well, so it'll be interesting to see if they do it as any more bans as well.
We haven't seen, I mean, for all the roster swap top, I mean, we haven't seen save since that big series loss earlier in the season. It's been completely Cacao and Rookie on the IG side. Flame's coming back into the squad here. Again, another one of those carry top laners. We want to see him on the champions like the Kennons of the world that can really force his enemy laner out of the lane and really look to push selfish objectives. But it's such a rotational game right now. That's why we've seen so much more Acorn to suit the rotational play. I'm hoping we see a different flavor of top laner coming out of Flame.
And we'll have to see, but the bans are done. Of course, the last one, Cassidy in there for Vici and Lysandra. They're very smart ban from LGD, knowing how good it is after Wayless had a very strong performance there.
And look, it leaves up now, which is an obvious first pick. Of course, Janna and Jarvan still available. So there's still a lot of priority picks coming out. And then, I guess, probably 3 strong picks. So it could be the completed Janna Jarvan to answer what looks like the first pick now.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Carry going to hover that champion. Played a fine Gnar, I'd say, in the last game, but again, didn't maybe fit here. And that would be a very interesting takeaway from Vici if they go for it. We'll give them a bit more, but looks like they are going to do it. Dandy is going to go back to Vi.
Yeah, locking in the Vi first pick here is super interesting. It opens up the disengage of Janna, already insta-locked at this point. We all want to see it. I think we all want to see the Flame cannon. I don't think Jax makes sense in a blind pick setting, but I mean, one thing you can say, it does open up Kalista as a pick there for Vici, because they've already got Vi, perhaps the strongest lockdown champion against that Kalista, especially from the jungle. So it does open up the option for them to pick it alongside the Vi.
Yeah, and of course with Lysandra banned there as well would make a little more sense. Just couldn't really survive all of the hard engage from LGD before. And LGD going to consider 2 very strong picks here. And looks like we might sadly not have Flame on Cannon this time. He's actually going to take the Gnar away from Carry, and we're going to take the Janna away from Mata.
I'd be interested to see if Kalista does come up in the picks here. It makes a lot more sense with Vi than it does against Vi. The first 2 picks, I mean, Gnar can deal with Kalista, has a lot more kind of situational factors that need to come up for that to happen. Janna, of course, is pretty much irrelevant when it comes to Kalista in a fight. So Kalista is definitely a consider here for Vici.
Yeah, we'll see here, of course. Love to pair it with the Annie. Seen a couple players now will start to pair it with Morgana, so good options here as well for the bottom lane of Vici. If Vasily does feel like he wants to play more of that champion on Kalista, then he can take it here, like you said, and it's a much less hostile environment, I guess, here. But Vici going to maybe steal away a very weird pick here. We've got LeBlanc in the mid, but Carry's actually going to have the cannon.
Yeah, the cannon's coming out of the woodwork everywhere, and maybe Lupa was right. Maybe it was all about that even laning. Of course, there's so many similar factors when it comes to laning. Even in a lane swap situation, Cannon and Gnar are about even. After the range nerfs, Cannon became less of that oppressive 1v1 laner. Of course, you smile at some of the champions Wayless is mounting over here.
Having some fun.
He's definitely having some fun. They're just very similar champions, and they even perform very similar roles in team fights. You could say Cannon's maybe a more reliable Gnar just because, of course, that slicing Maelstrom, once you get enough bolts, maybe around level 11, is inevitably going to get that big AoE stun down, whereas you need a bit more setup to get the big Gnar ultimate.
And interestingly, Jarvan actually going to drop through the draft here, it looks like, at least for now. We already have the Vi for Dandy, and Lee Sin's been picked up there for Xuen, but Imp is going to go back to one of his best performing champions here in the uphill. It's Sivir time.
We've seen this matchup today already, the Twitch versus Sivir, they're mulling over here. Because it's Mata picking that champion up, obviously it's going to be less likely. The rotational play from the Sivir Janna, I mean, there's so much synergy in terms of move speed between those two. There's one champion that you can't stand up to is Draven, but I don't know if we've seen Vasily's Draven in many a move.
No, it's been a while. as they have some considerations. I mean, Crystal obviously kind of really breaking out the Draven, not just in the LPL, but internationally, and really showing that you can crush Shiver, and Vasili's going to do it. He's locked in Draven, and Mata's got Thresh.
Yeah, the 2v2 now. I mean, Sivajana have no chance against the Draven Thresh. I mean, we're coming back to that matchup between Imp and Mata. Mata's definitely hitting the go button right here, committing to going with that very all-in Draven Thresh lane.
Yeah, we talk about Janna being one of Mata's best champion, if not his best champion, but Thresh, maybe to the hearts of our viewers, might be his strongest champion here. He plays with it so well. His team plays around it, and when you have an immobile carry like Draven, Vasili's very happy for the help as well.
Absolutely. It gives him effectively an escape. It doesn't have a dash like a lot of the favored AD carries, but having access to the Lantern will help him out a lot. They've been mulling over this Anivia a lot this draft.
I wonder if Wayless wants to pull the trigger on the bird, and it seems like he is in fact going to. So I assume that's mid Anivia. They are going to swap it over, and Wayless, I think he's played this before, once in the LPL, but that's a far gone memory, even though we're only 5 weeks through. And something different here for LGD's mid laner, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of wave clipping. You have to play so carefully against LeBlanc. I guess one of the theories is that if you go the Rod of Ages build, you're starting off with the Catalyst, going to take multiple rotations of spells for LeBlanc to take you down, so maybe there's just not enough burst damage to burst through the passive. But I imagine LeBlanc will play very proactively in this lane. Anivia's so slow to react that you have to give the advantage to Vici in terms of invades, especially after Dandy hits 6. And playing reactively against Dandy Mata and the amount of vision they're usually able to open up is a risk here from LGD. But if you can wave clear successfully, pick up that Rod of Ages and get tanky, the assassination potential on Anivia starts to dissipate as we get to the mid game.
Yeah, and I like a couple of the synergies in the comp as well. I think Anivia is surprisingly good with Siva and does hold up some of, like, just because of the movement does help her. She's a little short ranged and being able to actually does quite a lot of damage for a mid laner as well. So supplement some of the weaker late game damage that Siva has. Also very adorably, you can Megan up people into the walls from Anivia. So could be seeing that there as well, but very different comp here from LG, or at least not a different comp, but Anivia adds a very different dimension than we've seen from a lot of other players.
She's just a champion that we haven't seen in so long, and coming back to your point, she still has the lowest base move speed, tied with a couple of champions, but very notable for a mid lane champion to be so slow in the mid lane. So access to that on the hunt, the ability to position that wall more aggressively. Once we see the 5 points in the wall, the extra move speed, you'll be able to get deceptively behind your opponents. There is a lot of corralling options, a lot of interesting synergies, as you point out, with that Siva.
Well, let's see what the Birds want to do. We're going to hop into game 2. And welcome onto the Rift here, Vici versus LGD for their second game here of our 5th week on our first day of another edition of the Chinese LPL. It's been fantastic games across the board, many more to come, or at least one more to come this evening, but a great game here lined up as well. LGD looked fantastic in their first game win over Vici, but a little different here now as well. We've got Draven for Vasili, and the bird is the word there for Wayless in the mid. It is Anivia.
Yeah, the Anivia is going to be always interesting to track. Does surprising burst damage. It's one of those things where if you haven't played against Anivia in a while, the E scaling, the amount of base damage and that ability before you get in the AP does take you off guard. We see the harass already coming in the mid lane. It's going to be an interesting matchup against LeBlanc. Obviously, Anivia has pretty low base stats because she has that regeneration passive, the rebirth there. So she does have the low base stats. So there is the potential for aggressive pathing from Dandy to lead to a kill, but going to be difficult. You can't imagine he's going to be stepping away from his minion wave to open himself up to any chains.
No, and no extra health there either. Just a lot of regen there between the flask and the biscuits that he has. Also, Wayless has Ignite, which is very manly choice there in the mid lane, but you kind of mentioned it. Anivia can hang with some of these assassins, especially in early trades, as long as she lands her stun.
And this used to be considered a counter matchup just because with the silence, it would cancel the channel on the ultimate. You'd be able to get favorable trades as the LeBlanc, but with the silence true silence removed, although there is the interrupt flavor of the kit, it's just not quite the same. So there is the counter, but if you can hit the stun when the Mimic Distortion comes in, the burst damage trades can be very impressive. We see already in the mid lane, nice Q landing onto a tongue.
Yeah, but the junglers here starting through as well, as Wayless has got off to a good start. He's actually been to play quite a few unconventional mid laners here in the LPL. He was the first player to really break out Cassiopeia here in the LPL before she picked up a bit more popularity. So Wayless, we can trust him. He might be onto something here. Maybe it's just a comfort pick of him as well.
Yeah, one of the kind of standard parts of his play was to, in previous patches, pick up that spirit of the Spectral Wraith and pick up Wraiths and neutral camps and you know, get himself really farmed up quick. And you can see that on Anivia that would have been very viable in patches gone by. Of course, you can still AoE wave clear camps fairly quickly, but the unconventional builds, not so much in place, but the unconventional picks, they're staying.
Yeah, Vasily down the bottom now. We actually had a lane swap here for 2 different 2v1 lanes, although Flame is now joining Schwen there in the jungle as well. Looks like a recall from PYL as well, maybe rotating him through. And as is almost always Flame's fate, I feel like, Papa Smithy. Whenever he gets to play in a game, he never gets the 1v1 lane.
Yeah, he always has to step away from the 1v1 lane. He so craves. And obviously it makes sense. You want to dodge the Draven matchup as Sivir. I guess the one factor that's worth bringing up here is that when eventually we see Imp rotating down just for the potential dragon control, it might be that situation where he's so corralled that even though the level 6 usually means that the Sivir comp has the advantage at dragon, the Draven pressure and bottom lane might equalize that and may not be able to make the rotation towards the dragon because of how much pressure Draven puts on Sivir in a lane. For right now, though, Vasily will just stack up his passive here, get so much adoration, rocking this primetime Draven skin, probably feeling very, very confident because it's a wonderful laning matchup for the Draven.
Yeah, and I mean, Vasily is going to catch the actions. That sort of auto-pushes the lane here, so Flame's going to pick up CS under turret and levels here as well as the minions crash in. But, you know, Vasily going to be happy to at least stack the adoration. Imp does a good job dodging that matchup, but Carry here on Canning, you said it already, not the worst laner.
No, absolutely not. I mean, to be honest, she actually has a range advantage over Sivir in lane. It's actually quite a difficult 1v1 matchup. You have to be so on point to be able to spell shield an ability. You want to spell shield the Q, it makes the most sense, but because that's predictable, it's going to be the auto-trade harass into the W coming out from the cannon.
Yep, so Carry here, we'll see how he fares in towards the top. Already looking very competitive on CS. Flame, despite all the minions crashing into his turret and POL there down to help him briefly, he's almost 10 CS behind there as far as the 2 top laners go. Here, Wayless returning to the mid now as well, a little bit behind on CS here. LeBlanc playing very safe around his Nivea, just trying to farm up.
If they want to deny this cannon, they need to get gank pressure from Chwen on this Lee Sin. I mean, Janna Sivir is no different to just the Sivir solo in lane in terms of pressuring out this cannon. Will be able to farm from range. He's putting extra points in his W, so you can tell that he's looking to trade, because that's the auto-attack harass option, not maxing the Q for long-ranged farming.
Yeah, going for a bit more of that old AD cannon style that we used to see way back with Gendry, of course. Schwen actually is going to get aggressive in towards the jungle, walking towards Dandy. They're going to try and get some wards there, but Dandy farming very quickly. Trailblazer already done, and at level 4 as well.
And just farming up the jungle, not looking to put on any early pressure. Doesn't have a lot of CC. I mean, he does have respectable CC in lanes, but he's not trusting that in terms of engages in this lane swap situation. Happy to just farm to 6.
Vasily continuing to farm here as well, even on CS with MP, which is sort of what you expect. Vasily maybe bemoaning the fact that he doesn't have a support here, because one of the nice things about Draven is that you obviously want to catch all your axes, and when it supports that, it helps you sort of aggressively trim down the wave. It means you can get your last hits and catch all your axes.
Yeah, I mean, Janna has group, so we actually see Imp is able to outpush in the bottom lane. Marta's coming into lane as well. There's always kill pressure, as it's worth mentioning, in a Draven lane, even in this kind of 1v2 situation.
Good point there as well. Marta only level 3, but does have the death sentence ready to go. And just going to zone Flame a little bit here. Try to keep the very potent 1v1 laner back in the 2v1 just for a little while longer here as well. And I like the cloth armor from Flame. Kind of realize the situation he's in, just trying to be as cost efficient as he possibly can for the early stages.
The rotation from Chwen to actually come and relieve pressure in the bottom is very important here. Actually, Flame hasn't been able to shop. It's been shoved under turret the whole laning phase. They're calling in LeBlanc, so they're looking for some very aggressive dives.
Tong does back off, unfortunately, from the bottom side. And looks like Flame will go back, spend his money, get his Giant's Belt, and port his way back down. Wayless now level 6 as well, with LeBlanc leaving lane, pretty much able to auto-push it with the ultimate.
It has managed to survive to 6 very uninterruptedly. And I guess the big factor when this Anivia pick, that it was Vi. You'd expect fairly low gank pressure before 6, so it's been able to get to level 6 fairly unharassed, and now we'll have very good wave clear when LeBlanc tries to push and roam.
Yeah, and an easy catalyst there for Wayless as well, even getting a couple of wards as well, and some spare potions as he moves back into the lane. So a good start there for Wayless. Very nice back timing there as well, after Hotong kind of roamed a little awkwardly. Caught up with CS as well, so Anivia so far so good in the early lane.
And Dandy's pushing up the top. You can see that even though it's level 6 Sivir, still hasn't chosen to re-rotate into the bottom lane. is still happy to grant Dragon pressure to Vici just to opt out of this 1v1 lane against the Draven.
Yeah, Schwen actually on towards the Dragon Pit, but not going for the Dragon. Actually, I think looked for a ward hop down to maybe gank the bottom side of the map, but Vici is recalling from the bottom side. The dual lanes actually rejoin the now in towards that side of the map, and Whalers going to get a blue buff for himself.
But they're very narrow strategically here, LGD, because of this Sivir Draven matchup. Because Imp has to continue to fight in the top lane, it's going to grant basically free farm to carry. We'll get a very easy lane in the 1v1 as Kennen. So he should be over-farmed compared to his opponent Flame. He's already well on the way to a Zhonya's Hourglass.
Yeah, and a good stun there as well by Carry. Imp going to save that spell shield though, I believe. And Carry did not pull the trigger on the ult. He knew that it was not quite ready to get the kill. And again, just forcing him off. And you can see the big difference here. 10 CS ahead now by Carry, and that number's increasing as well.
This matchup's actually getting good for Wayless in the mid here, just because, of course, Atong has to get in melee range to wave clear, has to use the Mimic Distortion, and is eating those RE combos coming out of Anivia. And quite a lot of trade damage. So it's actually quite a deceptively difficult matchup. And the Tong's actually committed to going towards the Morellonomicon. On patch 5.2, Morellonomicon that much more expensive. Doesn't give him the defensive option. And again, we've already spoken about the base damages from Whalers. Those trades are going to start to stick.
I mean, if we're going to have a battle of the blue buffs here between the mid lanes, Anivia, I think, a clear winner in terms of how much value she gets out of that buff. So, Whalers looking good so far, catching up in CS still. Now getting aggressive onto Atong. That's a great little combo.
He's already having to use his distortion to get out defensively. That doesn't even have it available for wave clear now. So, limiting the options of Atong. I have to say, I do like this pocket pick here, the Anivia against the LeBlanc.
Yeah, so Vasily back down the bottom, still catching his axes back and forth, trying to actually sort of freeze a little bit here again with Draven. Again, it's difficult because you wanting to catch your axes means that you sort of relegate yourself to auto pushing away, but Flame is getting denied very heavily here, and Pioya's back down to try and help him again.
It's a huge wave control advantage for Vici when you compare the two off-lane matchups here. The Draven able to hold behind CS, able to command PYL to have to come in the lane for Flame to pick up any CS, and in the top lane, taking it straight to Sivir as Kennen.
Yeah, Dandy's also up there, but Imp's sort of walking out there. I think Dandy realized that Imp had to use the spell shield first before that gank was going to be successful. Imp's going to run around here as well, maybe look to get aggressive. Dandy actually backing off there as well. And Carry's going to be kind of relegated back towards his tower now. Schwen might even look for a dive.
Yeah, but Dandy's cancelled his back right here. Very awkward but tense situation in the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, Schwen's going to go in, and Dandy has to know that he's going to look for a flank. Imp is almost proxying between these turrets with how aggressive his position, and Dandy is caught on the wrong side of this, unfortunately, on LGD's side of the map. Imp actually going to recall in a very awkward spot. I think maybe taunting Carry to come back. Does telling in, and now Dandy's going to join. That's a great Vault Breaker. The spell shield goes off. There's the ultis coming down as well, and Imp is going to get crushed there for first blood.
It was a very late first blood, and it took a long time in Genesis, but they do pick up the kill. It validates Dandy's stay. He was in top lane for about 2 minutes, but they finally get the mechanics. They're also going to take this bottom turret, so putting pressure on both top and bottom turret. The objective pickup of that one kill is huge.
Things on the up and up for Vici early on here, and we can tell why Flame maybe wasn't played as much in the last weekend. Just has not a one-dimensional style, but a very specific thing that he's good at doing, and so does Acorn, but Acorn's style of play, a bit more resources, a bit more team fight oriented, just a bit more flexible with the way that LGD have generally played League of Legends.
I don't really want to criticize Flame here because he's basically been forced into this like suboptimal laning matchup. Obviously, would have done just fine in a 1v1 with Kennen, but just because how the picks came out, just because Sivir has to dodge this matchup against Draven, Flame's just forced into an awkward position. I mean, in the interview with LG, they talked about some communication issues with Flame. You know, that they haven't found it as easy to adapt to his more solo queue playstyle compared to the rotational play of Acorn, and that seems to be the reason why they're going with Acorn as a lead carry. But in terms of this particular game, I mean, Flame's been doing the best he can in an unfavorable lane matchup.
And that's fair. It's just funny to me that Flame so often ends up in unfavorable situations, and that doesn't help a player that really wants to be in a 1v1.
I guess the more important thing there is why are they playing Sivir into Draven in this situation? And once the Draven pick comes out, of course, they didn't have control over that, but once the Draven pick comes out, it just narrows Flame into this unfavorable lane matchup.
I mean, a good dragon there for LGD, so they'll pick that up for themselves at least. But you're right, Sivir saw a pretty big drop-off in play, and it was one of Imp's more successful champions in the early weeks of the LPL, but not even just Draven. Now, so many more players or 80 carries of the LPL have gotten a lot better, and teams in general have gotten a lot better playing against Sivir.
Yeah, whether it's the Jinx, whether it's the Caitlyn, and of course Crystal's Draven, and now of course Vasily's Draven we have to speak about, there are those options against the Sivir. It's not the oppressive AD carry that was kind of hyped up to be at the start of the season, people are starting to seize those advantages, the laning disadvantages that Sivir has with their 500 range. And yeah, she's definitely falling down in win rate.
Yeah, we'll have to see as Hatong going to look for a few wards here, maybe going in for a kill, but just distorts and puts a nice aggressive pink ward in towards LGD's jungle. Well, so looking good on this Nivea, already got the Rod Evaders charging up and ready to go. So LGD, it's not all bad news here. They do have a bit of a gold deficit, but about 1,500 gold up. LGD with the Dragon going to be pretty comfortable with this position.
I mean, Vici, you have to say, though, you look at the minimap, their pink wards have been excellent. They're very on point with their vision here this game. LGD, they had the vision advantage most of last game, so it's significant that Vici have managed to combine good AoE ultimates from Kennen with vision denial. They're opening themselves up for that dragon control. So they're in a good spot this game, but it's fairly even across the map, barring that first blood coming down.
And just kind of looking through the team console, we do have a second, of course, waiting through a brief pause here. How do we feel about what Vici have done here? Because they've got, some good pick potential here. Kennen sort of adding to the team fight. And of course, the big hyper carry and Draven. What's going on here with Vici's draft this game?
I mean, Vici have a lot of hard engage this game. They had some engage last game, but of course they had that mixed identity between poke and engage. There's definitely the engage flavor with the Kennen Vi combo. They have the mid-game power of the LeBlanc, potentially catching people out in transitions, though she's been struggling against the Anivia. And then just the laning pressure of Draven. Of course, Draven, his team fighting is kind of polarizing. If he can get ahead, if he finally cashes in on his adoration, he might potentially be massive in a fight. Of course, Crystal's Draven has gone off so many times in the LPL already this season, but can also be very difficult to team fight, especially against someone like Anivia, who can take advantage of the binary nature of having to catch axes to hit a very strong stun.
And Vasily here now, as we do pop back into the game. Going to look for the Scuttle Crab there, but Mart's going to clean out the wards that LGD have been, that Vici's have been putting in there. Never mind, actually. Getting a bit confused, but LGD are looking for a counter dog on us. So Vici will clear out the defensive pings, and Dandy going to steal away the blue buff.
Vici have a very strong push happening in the bottom lane here. They push already up to the second turret. No AoE wave clear whatsoever until Flame hits that Mega Gnar point. He does have it now, has a bit of wave clear, but it's basically completely taken away from the turret.
Yeah, and Wayless there returns in kind with the buff steals, takes away the enemy blue buff there instead, so he'll be happy to have that on. If you're not going to get denied a blue this time around, but a very nice thought for Vici. Now grouping his 3 down towards the bottom. Lots of pressure being put onto Flame and the tier 2 turret.
Yeah, a lot of damage on it here. Flame has a bit, as you said, a bit of wave clear. He's going to try and harangue as much as possible, scare Dandy. There's no cavalry just yet.
Yeah, good ulti there, but not enough. And the Tong actually picks up Schwen off screen. The Hook, they're going to come in onto Wayless. Dandy going to pop the ulti there as well. Master with the playback. The box popped in there as well. And Wayless, not a lot left here. Vasily just eating into him now. And Hatong does get the kill.
The very aggressive pink wall from Vici next to that mid turret is what paid off huge there. They caught both Schwen and Wayless in transition. And Nivea's a slow champion. She needs time to set up to bunker down. She's great at defending turrets, but whenever there's a fight in the jungle, her slow transitions can really be taken advantage of.
And Vici's starting to open up pressure on this map now as well. 2 turrets to 1 and 3 kills to 1 there as well. Gold lead starting to tick up again. Vasily going to go back and spend some of that gold, and Imp here does have his BF sword and his pickaxe, but it's just not quite the same.
Yeah, it might be the late game cash in from this Draven, though he still hasn't been able to use that passive. Following the Crystal School of Thought and starting off with the Bloodthirster, of course, adding the Q base damage from those axes to your auto attacks means that you lifesteal a lot more than other champions, so it's an understandable first pickup. You don't have the critical strike modifier, but wouldn't be surprised to see him follow Crystal School of Thought.
I mean, if you're going to follow a Draven here, Crystal's not a bad one. His Imp actually landing into Hatong. A good hook there for Master. The Lancer going to ride Hatong out, but it might not be enough. Actually, it will carry that. Popping the ulti and Dandy moving to it. Now Imp in a whole host of trouble does spell shield there as well. And now Flame's going to come and carry in trouble. Does get killed. Flame with an amazing teleport.
Imp lives there. That was unbelievable play from PYL with the fully channeled Monsoon for healing. The exhaust was on point on carry. LGD team fighting really well.
Yeah, replay-worthy moment there as LGD now going to start to pressure in towards the mid lane, try and take out some of those turrets. And Imp, we talked about the matchup being bad, but he played that beautifully.
It's in these open lanes when Wayless is really able to harass out the enemy, clear those waves fairly, and so there's not much answer once the ultimate is placed down from the Anivia. It's, again, if they can avoid the transitions, and you look, that pink ward is still up next to their base, Schwen is in trouble.
Yeah, good kick there. Actually, the Monsoon landing in, but the hook does go in, and Danny dunks him with the ulti.
And they do pick up the exit kill, but no objectives to be taken here. Still 1 minute 45 to Dragon. And Nivea just going to keep clearing waves in the middle.
Yeah, Vici going to rotate down as well. Look to defend this turret, though. It does fall to the very vicious caster minions, and he'll clean out the gold here, and that'll even the turrets up 2-2.
2-2, but of course, Vici had the slight advantage of having that mid turret down. They haven't had the time to put up any more subsequent aggressive vision in. They still have that pink ward, which was so important and critical to their previous transition kills. But if they want to take advantage of having this outer turret down, they really need to get some aggressive wards into both the blue and red buffs of LGD.
They're going to be even more important now that Dragon's back in a minute 10 or so there as well. So lots of strong items coming through as well. We see Wayless now actually with a Chalice, so going for a very mana-intensive build to make sure he can keep chunking out spells that are on the Anivio. We see this every now and then. Anivio usually loves her 2 mana items, and this time going to opt in for the roll plus the Chalice.
And the magic was obviously very helpful in potentially being caught if Vici ever do get that vision advantage we're talking about. And again, it's another insurance in terms of the blue buff. If LGD fall behind in terms of vision and Vici are able to monopolize their blue buff, having a bit more mana regen for Anivia, such a mana-hungry champion, makes sense.
I mean, yeah, if we were going to graph, amount of mana used or mana hungriness as something we could plot out.
The bird is very hungry.
He's very, very hungry here. Is now Hetong going to get aggressive, look for PYL, but pops back over the wall using that distortion. LGD, good defensive pink ward, going to keep that vision that Vici desperately want in their own jungle out for now.
Yeah, LGD have grouped here. They don't have teleport, but smartly they're grouping to make sure they have the exclusive vision around the dragon. It's so hard to face check a cannon comp with the potential of your whole team being AoE stunned. Flames walking down to group with his team as well, but Vici have done a great job of grouping early to get the exclusive vision over this dragon.
Yeah, good little Sigil plus the Mimic poke there as well out onto Flame, so keeping the minion health a little low, but Flame pretty tanky here. Randuin's is done there for Nara as well, and Flame is getting that rage up as well, so going to look to have that time now. Dragon is back up as well, and LGD going to look for a team fight here.
Yeah, they do have the cheeky ward down here, LGD, that is letting them know that Vici haven't aggressed on this dragon yet. It's just fallen, so now they're shrouded in secrecy, and this is where Vici, they need to make advantage of this cannon ultimate. Not level 11, so won't stun up a whole team or necessarily 3 members of a team, but still will have a massive team fight effect.
Scuttlecrab runs out there as well. There is still a ward there that Vici have not swept out, but Vici going to get some wards done. Dragon going to fall very quickly here. Hetong doing some zoning actually there as well. That is going to be the Dragon going over to Vici.
Hetong actually draws out the Mega Gnar ultimate there. Flame tried to face check to get a flank position, but nowhere to be found. Ping's level 11, but the objective goes to Vici.
It's almost one of the underrated things of LeBlanc as well, especially where Hetong's had a pretty good start to this game, 2-0-1 with 145 CS at just almost 19 minutes. When you can blow up a tank or at least chunk them very low, you sort of prevent the enemy from wanting to go anywhere near you.
And the criticism at LeBlanc was always the fact that she's kind of fiercely single target when it comes to picks. And that's true and untrue. Of course, the Mimic Distortion does do a lot of AoE damage. But because the ultimate's on such a short cooldown, especially from level 16 onwards, I believe it's on a 16-second base cooldown, if you ever get vision advantage, you just corral the enemy. They can never afford to face check a brush because there is that 100-0 potential from that LeBlanc.
Yeah, and when your main tank is getting chunked down that low, you just can't really afford to fight. As Flame actually has found Hetong now trying to get some revenge for the earlier poke, and the rest of LGD were running, but a Distortion gets LeBlanc to safety very easily.
The Mimic Distortion comes through. The teleport not available from carry, but pushing very aggressively in the top lane. They're trying to force this top lane tower to go down. Finally get the outer ring down.
Yeah, Carry almost has his teleport back up as well, so if a fight does start, he should be able to join very quickly. LGD going to pressure him for the turret. Marta looking for a hook, but doesn't find it. LeBlanc clearing the wave as quickly as he can, but LGD going to take out that turret there, get their third of the game, but Carry Anderson kind of takes out the top turret.
Hetong was actually fairly low in mana, didn't pick up blue buff yet, so that's probably fortuitous they didn't force a fight there. Wouldn't have had enough mana for a second rotation of spells, and the answering turret is taken in the top lane.
So the game now really opened up here at this point. Vici only 1,000 gold ahead. They have LGD have a dragon. I believe Vici have the same here as well. Yes, they do. So one apiece on that objective. The same number of turrets. Very close game this time around, Papa.
Absolutely. It's much closer than the first series, and also there isn't an obvious compositional advantage for one team. In a group team fight, there's a lot of there are multiple intricate things that could happen. Okay, Vici perhaps need a pick to pay off the LeBlanc versus Anivia mid lane choice, but in terms of team fight ultimates, there's the Cannon ultimate, which is very comparable to the space control and ultimate the Flame can pull off on the Gnar. The disengage advantage, you'd have to say, is there with PYL, but Vasili's Draven, he's just waiting for that cash in, and then when the big injection of gold comes in, then he'll definitely be able to out-damage Imp in these fights.
Oh, he will, and Draven already very strong against the Sivir pick as well. I think it's interesting that, last game, to give credit to both these teams, we did kind of just hit a stalemate at this point in the last game, but it felt like with the way Vici's comp sort of shook out, that they couldn't really do the match despite the game being quite even. As you mentioned, though, a very different go this time around, and I'm just thinking for the next big fight, maybe it is that third dragon, or the third overall dragon, second dragon for either team that we all look to wait for.
I think whoever can get the ward advantage, and I would say that Vici are looking for a bit more to pay off the LeBlanc pick, will be the ones that are able to pick up this next dragon. We're still waiting for it to spawn. It's a couple of minutes away at this point, but we see big items completed across the board.
Dishwin coming in, kicks Mata back. The box, though, does go down. Imp gets the kill on Mata, but Dandy gets the next kill on Carry. Going to get kicked out of the fight, but goes back in, able to stun Imp up here, and just chasing him back. But Imp doing good damage. The exhaust came down as well. Wayless going to poke out a tongue and almost killed out LeBlanc. Carry, great Tony's there, but Wayless now going to come through as well. That will be another kill for Wayless. This bird is going off. Imp flashed over for a next kill. That's 3-1 LGD. Now Hatong getting chased down as well. There's the Nexus. Wayless goes on a fourth overall kill LGD. Now Imp going to chase in. Hatong in trouble. Good distortioner to keep him safe.
Yeah, they're actually able to pick up so much damage on LeBlanc in the transition there, Wayless, meant that LeBlanc could never enter the fight again. And once Vasily dropped the first axe, had to flash to try and get an exit kill to pay off his adoration stacks. Doesn't manage that. Hatong actually dies to the RE. The surprising damage coming out of this Anivia. And out of nothing, it's an ace for LGD.
And surprising is always the work with the Nivea damage. She's surprisingly tanky in a lot of her builds. She usually wants a lot of mana, and that's usually translates into a lot of health as well. But whenever you get debuffed by that chill, that E hurts a lot. And you just saw her tongue pay for it there.
It's the 300 base damage with the 1 AP scaling if they're chilled. So it's a huge amount of base damage. And as you say, the Ignite aggressive pickup has really paid. I don't even know if she's been egged because she, of course, has died the one time. But apart from that, LeBlanc has been basically completely neutered against her in lane.
Yeah, Wayless did a very good job in that last little fight here in Vici. We'll try and recover some ground back here. LGD actually got themselves into a bit of a lead now, 1,600 gold or so ahead. But Vasily in that last fight, you mentioned it, wasn't able to Draven at full capacity, and that's not good news for Draven.
I mean, he didn't get the first kill. That's the important factor there, is that the fight was really moved across the space right there. They didn't have the ward coverage for him to be able to free hit. He dropped an axe, and now you see with the Bloodthirst, the last Whisper boat he's been priced into here, it's all about catching the axes. It's all about his team fighting in front of him in an open space. In those choke points where he just didn't have the vision to continue keeping the axes up, he really struggled to impact it.
It's the next dragon coming up pretty shortly here. Flame going to get aggressive onto her tongue, actually. Pretty tanky. And now Wayless going to chop him off with the wall as well. No kill force coming. Great boomerang though for Flame. Maybe just going to go in for the dive. Flame actually poked in the auto. I think attack move him onto the Mimic, unfortunately, but they'll force him out, and that might be Dragon LGD.
Yeah, but once again, Hatong has to back, like you say. They could try and go for the Baron, but they don't realistically have the vision around it. They'll walk through a pink ward as they try and check it out. So it's just the push that's on from LGD.
And it gives them good vision opportunities in the bottom side of the map now as well. So they do want to move in over to the Dragon after this bit of pressure. They're going to be able to get those aggressive wards down and really force a favorable fight. Schwen will walk over a pink ward and crucially be able to take it out. Good zoning wall there as well. Mata going in, finds well. So Dandy dunks in there as well, but a great ulti from PYL keeps Carry out of the fight. And Imp in the middle of it all, but just dishing out the damage. Trying to dive back in, pick up Dandy. Great double tornado there for PYL. Now Carry in trouble as Imp just rips through them with On the Hunt popping. And now Schwen going back in over onto her tongue. Imp's going to get a double kill there, I believe. And LGD, what a fight.
And you could tell just from that fight what Vici Gaming was lacking in the last game against the AoE CC. It's the Queen of Disengage. That Janna ultimate, the Monsoon, completely split the fight away there. It removed Carry's initiation completely. He was just a non-factor in that fight, and LGD fought around their carries well, and all capped off by that wonderful ultimate from PYL.
Yeah, beautiful looking team fight there for LGD. Let's see that again.
So, of course, after the first pick, Mata gets the death sentence, and this is where you think, okay, here comes the slicing maelstrom, but wonderful ult from PYL. And then the rest of the team is able to fight safely. You can see Imp is at full health at the back of the fight here. Flame's still alive, working his way towards Meganar, so the enemy team has to split and run away. Twen does the lovely lead-in mechanics, but Imp is the benefactor.
And, you know, we talk about Sivir versus Draven being difficult for Sivir. Certainly true in lane, in team fights as well as far as overall raw damage goes, that's still true. But when you can use your Sivir effectively in a fight, she still does very good AD carry damage.
And look, credit to LGD. They tried to minimize the negative matchup by opting out of the 2v2 until absolutely necessary. Okay, it narrowed some of their strategic options and allowed Vici to grow some leads, but didn't open up anything decisive for Vici. They haven't managed to monopolize the Dragons. They haven't taken full advantage of the inefficient map usage. You know, having your AD carry in the top lane, it does remove Dragon pressure. It is inefficient on a mid-game AD carry like Imp, but they haven't had to pay for it.
I think Spellshield might have saved him slash. They actually popped his ulti as the Tong went in, looking pretty scary in this. LeBlanc with the death cap done a number of minutes ago, looking for maybe a Void Staff third there with the amp gem in the inventory. So Imp has to be careful, does use his ulti in LGD. If they wanted to fight around for this Baron or at least get vision for it, they have to be a bit more careful.
And look, between Janna and Anivia, their splitting of fight potential is huge here for Vici. We haven't even mentioned the wall having similar flavor to the Monsoon here. Okay, Dandy will go in aggressively. He will suppress a single target. But if the wall breaks off the other members from coming in, you know that Kennen wants to lightning rush effectively. If he has to use the flash even just to close the distance towards a fight, that's a flash used inefficiently.
Yeah, teleport actually coming through for Flame now as well. Actually quickly going on to carry. Flash orders him into the wall, but Martha going to land to the mount. Imp though, going to run in. Carry gets out at the last second there, but Schwen is in the middle of the team. Gets actually ulted by Dandy, I believe, and Carry going to use his ulti and there's others peeling on the Flash Monsoons for a little bit of disengage. Gets hooked up, McHale's himself through, and that's going to reset the fight. Good damage poking in for Wayless though, his own LGD sort of running down the rest of Vici. Got one kill, can they get another? Imp has found Dandy. The good lantern though by Martha to protect him. It might be one, but another good fight.
They're trying to get some sort of initiation. They don't have it right here. Imp wants the auto attack, but doesn't get it.
Good grab though coming through. Tom gets the next kill. Schwen going to dive back in. Gets to get onto Vibe, but Wayless trying to catch him off. Can't quite catch Vici in there. And that's 2 for 1 overall.
The LGD were waiting for that ultimate to come back on Imp. It was so close off cooldown. Wayless has his passive available right here, so it's not quite the emergency.
Stun just missing there onto Mata as well. Just missing the flay there. Hatong going to dive in and try and get the egg, but Schwen wants to protect him. Can't do it. LeBlanc gets another kill. Carry now coming back in. Teleported in to try and get some kills. Is not rewarded. And what a crazy fight across the rift.
Vici have to wait for minions to come to pay off this carry teleport. He teleports in aggressively. They can't get an exit kill, and they're awkwardly waiting for the minions to push in before they can take the turret. With the shorter with the shorter respawns at this point, we're only 28 minutes into the game. They get good damage on this mid turret. No, they should be able to chunk it down.
Yeah, I mean, Vasily does decent damage here with the Zeal now added to his last Wisp of BT. So strong enough there to take out the turret. Vici going to claim their 4th for this one with LGD only having 3. Closing the gold lead a little. It's closing at 2,000 now, whereas about 3,500 gold before that fight. But even in that long goose chase around the rift, LGD still looks like a very strong team fighting.
LGD had both their top and bot lanes pushing as well, so they have to answer that minion wave push. You see Kennen responding to the bot lane here. LGD, they're getting the exclusive Baron vision. You can see they're always on the front foot, regardless of how that team fight went. They're now very close to monopolizing vision around Baron, and Vici are forced to clear their waves in top and bot.
That's an impressive feat against the vision control team, especially the duo of the likes of Dandy and Mata. But Vici have plenty of room to fight here in this game. Dragon's going to be back up soon as well in a minute 40 or so. And LGD going to set up maybe for a bit of a pick here as well. And again, just making sure they keep vision completely in their control in this particular game.
Definitely, the comp that LGD fielded in the first game was so benefit with Janna being on the ban list. There was no disengaged support picked up. If it was the Nami instead of Annie, as we spoke, maybe that would have allowed Vici to have enough disengage. But Janna's the queen of disengage, and she's been one of the reasons that Kennen's fallen off is that because his engage is so predictable, Janna can predict it, get the Monsoon down, and negate the massive AoE Wombo coming out. And Vici, they're feeling the pain of electing for this Kennen with the Janna available.
I mean, not just the Janna ban there, but also the fact that Lissandra was banned this game, which is very good against that Janna. And LPL got one of his better champions. We called him, the Mata of China, living up to his handle so far on, maybe one of Mata's signature champions.
Yeah, and just the strategic adaptations to avoid the Draven matchup. The Draven still hasn't been able to cash in the Adoration. Lost half the stacks earlier with the death. Still would get a nice burst of gold, but they've just never got a fight where Draven could freely auto and catch those axes.
Flame looking in. The Naba are actually pretty high right now, so Flame managing that rage nicely. Kind of a weird situation as looks like the teams are caught on the other side of the rift here as well. Good ward there though from Vici. We'll spot them coming through. They're going to try and disengage here. Tong actually went off to the other side, and that might prompt LGD to try and get for a fight here. But if Tom can flank well, Vici just missing that Q. Schwen though, gonna jump in. Mata uses the box, but Carry now gonna get kicked away. There does use his on his, but not a whole lot left there. A great time stun there for Wales, and Anivia claims the kill.
Yeah, they disengage off the ultimate very, very well there. They pick up the first kill. It was interesting positioning, but you never want to be in that position against On The Hunt. Of course, gives them that massive burst of speed. They pick up a kill, and they're going to head down to Dragon.
Yeah, we mentioned Jana. Schwen has been on point, kicking Cannon out of key situations there as well. So, of course, Jana, the queen of engage, but at least it's certainly playing a nice supporting role for that as well.
Yeah, the kick for disengage, the monsoon for disengage, the wall for splitting up a fight. LGD have really built their comp around stopping the AoE wombo coming in from Cannon. Carry has been basically completely anonymous this game, purely from the champion picks on LGD's side.
And you know who loves a very nice, small skirmish-style fight, Papa Smithy?
Who's that?
Sivir.
It's true, and look, they babied the Sivir through laning phase, and we thought, okay, that's a strategic problem for them. But by the time the grouping phase has come, the Sivir is still very relevant in this game, and although Cannon got all that solo farm, got that to the level 14, you know, we were talking about 30, 40 CS ahead, still is 30 CS available. Because of the comp they've actually fielded here, he can just never impact the fights like he wants to.
Yeah, Vici just, as you said, can't catch the iteration, can't catch a break here on the Draven despite all of the strong farm that he had and the great early start he had to his game. And the LG played very well around. Maybe one of their star players, Imper as well, did get a third dragon for themselves also about a minute or so ago. So going to have a very key movement dragon, which for this sort of comp, I mean for every sort of comp really, just such a difficult to obtain stat that it's pretty much valuable in any sort of champion.
Yeah, I mean, movement speed is a stat that everyone craves, but only really 80 carries can easily itemize them in there, barring the Trinity Force users in the top lane.
Yeah, we'll see what LGD want to do next. So they've got their movement buff. I like the Captain Boots there from PYL on the Jana as well. Playing a very classic, again, Mata-looking Jana here with the Mikhail's done as well to keep Imp safe. And LGD going to charge around the map. The rotation's going to be really strong now. They've got so much freedom as far as their movement goes. And the Baron Vision, again, still being kept up by LGD.
Yeah, hard engage versus disengage is definitely the story of this game, and you have to hand it to the disengage so far. Been so great at disrupting the fights between PYL's disengage. And, of course, even Twen, as you mentioned, with the kicks in fight. And Vici, they're kind of confused right here. They're not really sure how to be able to force a fight they're looking for beyond the flank.
They're going to go in there onto Wales, but another kick out. No, it was actually PYL ulti there again, getting Carry out. And the Lantern will keep him safe. Flame actually transforms back, but goes in onto her Tong. Very tanky here. And now they're going to dive back in. Martin over the good bucks. Whalers gets the kill there for LGD. Twen, they're going to dive back in. Grab there, does get interrupted there, but there's her Tong. Dives straight onto Imp and gets the kill. Whalers pop backs out of the egg. Vasily's forced to flash as well. 3 for 1 so far, but LGD still chasing. Twen going to chase down Vasily here. Whalers going to look in. Great flash kick there, and there's the double for Flame.
Excellent team fighting coming out of LG. Although Imp falls, Whalers was putting out so much consistent damage with the blue buff and all the mana regen he has, it didn't even matter.
We're talking about Imp vs Mata there as well. Sick spell shield by Imp to block off that death sentence. LGD might look for a Baron now. Dandy, Prince of Thieves, though, is around, running in towards the objective.
Let's see if they have enough Baron damage. No 80 carry means this Baron is going to fall fairly slow, and once they see Dandy coming into the picture, they'll probably have to disengage.
Yep, time to leave now. Dandy gets blocked off by the wall. Does Volbreaker himself off. Schwen is very low, but the Vantage Veil looks to be up there as well. Dandy might just have to content himself with a Constellation Pink Ward, but does thwart the Baron attempt.
Absolutely. The solo re-invade onto Baron does take him off that objective. A lot of respect shown to Dandy, and maybe justified. We're going to see the replay once again. The Monsoon from BYL is excellent, and Carry's forced into no man's land with that ultimate. He completely negates the cannon pit because he's no longer an influence in this fight. And when you're diving in on so much disengage and AoE control, you see Whalers does fall into egg forms very early right there, and Imp is picked off, but once he comes back, he's at half health, can split the fight with the wall, and Vasily, again, he's just never been able to cash in the adoration. He's actually behind in gold compared to his opponent, which is a really big thing to say compared to just how big we've seen Dravens get this season. It's basically a non-factor.
Yeah, and Flame there as well, tanking up so much damage. Got a Warmog for himself now as well, I believe. So very tanky on this now. Has almost 4,000 health, in fact, there on that one.
And the front line is very, very strong. Between the disengage and, you say, the tankiness, Draven can be a tank buster when he gets big, but that's still a waiting game in this particular match.
It isn't. The last team fight for me illustrates something I really like about LGD's comp is that it's a really cool two-threat comp. It's some light-ish threats here between Sivir and Anivia, but they're using them well. They're splitting up fights into manageable pieces for these two champions, and Wayler's getting focused. They actually got engaged by Martha and Dandy. Was able to come back with his passive. Imp died, but Wales is there to carry the rest of the fight.
Absolutely. It's consistent damage from both members, so if one falls down, being able to put down such low cooldown burst like Anivia can, the incidental damage from the other members actually setting them up just fine.
Yep, so LGD looking strong here, about 6,000 gold or just under in this particular game. And Dragon's back up in a minute 30. That'll be the fourth for LGD, and I believe the third also for Vici, if I recall correctly. And Carry cannot catch a breaker in this game. Hatong will get one. Picks up here. Schwen going to dive back in. Hatong could be in trouble, but the rest of Vici are running in a flame. It will get out of there.
Yeah, looked like Vici were trying to cut them, weren't managing to, but for the first time this game, PYL caught napping with his position. They had no vision of that brush, and Hatong finally gets the assassination kill in the mid game for this LeBlanc.
It does have an Aegis for himself, which will help with any future assassination and is great against the double AP that Vici have here, but Vici are going to look for maybe another pick here. Good wards from LGD still. They've kept up very good warding, especially in towards the neutral areas. They have to run away now. Wayless on the Anivia as well, going to saunter in towards his team. And Vici have a power play here, 5v4, but haven't pulled the trigger on any objectives yet.
Yeah, again, the minion waves are pushing towards Vici's advantage in the bottom lane, so that does open up Baron as an objective. It's very risky to engage it, but they're bursting it down very quickly.
Yeah, Baron does very quickly on this particular patch. Schwengler going to dive in. Can he find the steal? Dandy don't get pickpocketed again. Doesn't though. Secures the smite, but LGD might just run in. Carry not going to get kicked out this time. Dive straight in onto him, but a good Crucible might keep him safe. Dandy dives back in. POE finally with the ultimate him is going to go down there, but Wayless is chunking out the damage. That's a 1-for-1 trade. LGD, they'll take it.
Yeah, and that time PWL wasn't grouped. Of course, had to come back from death there to be able to influence the fight. He did delay the kill coming onto him, but with both AD carries down, everyone resets. The minion waves pushing a Vici's advantage. They do take a turret thanks to the big wave they got grouped in bottom lane. So 1-for-1, picking up a turret on the Baron, definitely Vici happy with that trade.
Yeah, Baron, the big winner there after the kill trade there for Vici. So going to look to spread out more, really pressure these lanes down. Although Dragon is up here and LGD are going to go in there. This going to get very interesting. We're going to have the potential fifth Dragon up for LGD, although Mata might try and fancy himself for a steal. Although Dandy, the real steal here, going to go back. Can he get it? No, Schwen's going to get it. Dandy will lantern out, but that's 4 Dragons, LGD.
Yeah, the timer is on this game. Another 6 minutes till the fifth is up. LGD, if they can pick up this fifth Dragon, you have to think they'll be able to go for the aggressive closeout and finish. But the Baron buff should open up the waves to be pushing in Vici's advantage for at least the next few minutes. And if they can trade that with some aggressive wards, they put themselves in the best possible position to contest that fifth Dragon.
And it seems like we're going to have a pretty interesting standoff when that rolls around, because that Baron's going to be very close to back up, if not back up already. So what's worth more? Who wants the Dragon or the Baron? LGD, of course, likely need to be kept off that fifth Dragon, but the map's going to be very tense and no team can really effectively cover both sides, especially with this many turrets down. So a very close game still despite the goal difference. In fact, that goal difference that we saw maybe 10 minutes ago that was quite big there has shortened considerably now. LGD only a few thousand ahead now.
I do feel like LGD will be the ones to choose the objective they're looking for. They have the on the hunt. They are able to rotate naturally faster, have the Janna move speed with Captain's Enchant, have the third Dragon buff. So they do have a lot of movement speed. They can move across the map very fast. They need to buy time for this Baron to fall off. It's about almost 3/4 done. No need to go near the waves right now as they're going to push in and then just be wave cleared by this Anivia. But when it comes to that fifth Dragon, it'll be interesting to see what they choose between contesting the Baron and just securing themselves the massive power jump of the fifth Dragon.
Yeah, we've gone pretty late here in this game, almost 40 minutes, so let's take a quick look at the items here. Vasily is going to go back to the shop there as well. Cannon looking big here. Abyssal Scepter, Zhonya's, plus his Distortion Boots. Love that adaptation there with a Haunting Item, maybe a Void Staff coming through with the Blasting one, so a lot of upfront damage. Very tanky build there for Dandy with Locket Randuin's, more of that utility, plus a spare Giant's Belt. 4 damage items there for LeBlanc. 3.5 or almost 4 damage items time for Vasily. And it's sort of the same on the other side there as well for LGD. Everyone has so much going on.
LGD have actually got a power push in the mid lane, and we see that LeBlanc have been pushing aggressively in bot. She had the Baron buff, so was able to push very, very fast. but now has to run back just because of the implied pressure of the 5-man group.
Yeah, good pushing for LGD against the Baroned up minions as well, but a huge amount of blue minions in towards both sides of the map, it looks like, certainly in the bottom there. So LGD have to peel off here, and Vici going to get some space back.
Yeah, it's not the crystal build coming out from the Draven. Of course, we don't know what would have happened if the snowball begun, but actually focusing on more right-click auto-attack build here. More damage if he ever drops an axe. Of course, Crystal always goes for this high-risk Trinity Force builds that require axe catching to be able to do a lot of damage, but he does have the attack speed and critical strike modifier on this patch, working towards the Infinity Edge, so we'll do higher guaranteed damage, but definitely hasn't snowballed here. Definitely significantly far behind Imp, but still able to tank bust, especially when that Infinity Edge is completed.
Oh yeah, it's a big pickup there for Vici. He's only getting stronger. Imp getting weaker maybe as far as damage output goes, because Sivir just can't be put in situations to do a lot of standing DPS, but if LGD continue to set up for this Sivir, make no mistake, that's still an 80 carry with 4 damage items. Imp will wreck people if he gets a chance.
And Vici has the ability to win a fight. They just need to really start to get the ward advantage or fight in a spot where they can get the flank engage from Kennen. The linear down the open area engages from Kennen haven't been working. It's so easy for PYL to time his disengage. But if we see a situation where Dandy initiates from the front, Kennen initiates from the back, can get that guaranteed stun potentially on PYL, maybe it's worth suppressing PYL and locking down their team, because right now the Kennen ults have been negated every time.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen a lot of the, kill the support strategies when you do want to take it a big key ultimate, and PYL has been very on point with the Monsoon, so that's not the worst thing ever, but Vici only have so much engage in this particular comp. It's not the LGD comp that we saw in Game 1 with just way too much hard engage, and Vici just needs to have a good fight. He's 0-3-6 on this Draven, has just lost so much adoration, never been able to cash in for any sort of kill.
Yeah, and of course loses half stacks on every death. So just the final cash-in won't pay off the 40 minutes of pain here for Vici. Again, if they want to get a pick, it's going to be on Hatong, you'd have to think. He's got massive items on this LeBlanc. They need to get the pink wards to support a potential pick on PYL, as we saw earlier in the game, where he managed to pick one towards the right of the mid lane. But they just haven't been able to recreate that, and PYL is so much the cornerstone of the disengage on LGD's side.
Yeah, I mean, even just naturally sitting near people with Captain Boots plus his passive, he's speeding LGD around the map. Vici have so much trouble catching LGD's movement throughout the map, or even just catching them if they're running away. So Vici going to clean out the Krugs very close to the IE, you have to think. We also had Locket done for PYL, so going to add even more defensive stats to his team as well. And Flame has gotten massive here on even in mini-Gnar form. He's got a Thornmail added in for defensive items now.
After his laning phase, to be so much more influential than the free farm Kennen shows you just A, how strong the disengage is on LGD's side, and B, just the fact that Kennen can, Gnar can afford to build so tanky. No need to go for any damage, relying on the dual damage threats, but such a soak in that front line.
Yeah, Infinity Edge is done for Vici as well, so a big boost in his damage now as well on the Draven, especially if he can keep catching those axes. But kind of a stalemate developing here in mid. Both teams look like they want to fight. The next Dragon's going to be up in 30 seconds. Baron will follow about 10 after that. A very key moment here in this game.
Flame split away from his carries. He's able to stand in the front, even in mini-Gnar form. They might look for an engage.
Yeah, attempted wall then by Wailers, but Dandy does fall breaker through it. Mata ready with the lantern there as well. And this time LGD have done this objective control correctly. They've got both of the Sargos pushing down as well. They have all the momentum here in this fight.
This is absolutely the picture-perfect screenshot for being set up for success and picking up a big objective. And whether they choose the Baron or the Dragon, the minion waves are so far in their advantage. They have the ward advantage as well. It would take a miracle for Vici to win out here, but look, a single pick, maybe finally that decisive Kennen ult, and it could be different.
Oh my god, Schwen just dunks dunks poor Mata there, now going to kick Vici back in as well. Gets melted there by Imp and Anivia. Hatong even getting chased down now as well. That's 2 kills LGD, and that's going to be another Dragon. You have to think LGD going to look in both junglers far away from that Dragon. Schwen diving under the tier 2 turret. Nails Hatong there, does get the Dragon. They goes back in for the kill. Dandy going to find him, but it doesn't matter. LGD got the Dragon.
Yeah, the exit kills, no big deal with 3 deaths, another 5th Dragon down. Even Flame looks so intimidating with the burn running there. Imp and the rest of the team are grouping. They're going to take at least an inhibitor in the bot lane, you have to think. and the minion waves continue to crash in the top lane. Everything working well for LGD.
Yeah, the Anivia damage there as well, coupling with Flame. We talked about it. Anivia, no slouch in damage if she can get in there, especially with the ulti running in. Just bursted down some of the members of Vici to go into this fight. LGD might just try and end the game right now. These turrets are melting under the 5-Dragon LGD, and Vici have no answers left here. Dandy going to get ulted out by PYL. Imp is tanking turrets for his team. Carry, they're trying to ult. It's a bit of desperation. But Imp on the next, they're going to go in for a few more kills. Not going to get them. But LGD will take the 2-0.
Yeah, for them to take the 2-0 in such an even series is a massive result, resetting some of that momentum they lost with their 0-4 last week. And I feel like I went through the complete range of emotions on the Kennen pick. In the first game, I was like, man, we haven't seen Kennen in so long. He lanes so well. Those ults are wrecking team fights. But the moment that the meta support pick of all of the past 4 months, the Janna comes in, once the disengage really gets going for a game, that Kennen literally hit like a wet noodle. There was nothing he could do.
LGD, really strong play. And let's see some of it again here with the replay.
So we're going to see a replay. Inevitably, of course, it starts with a Kennen ultimate that doesn't lead anywhere. Instantly disengaged. It doesn't really matter how many items Carry got free farming. There's just nothing he can do in the fights. Once that ultimate's on cooldown, the re-engage comes in very aggressive here, but you're diving into an Anivia comp. They get the assassination on Anivia, it doesn't really matter. And Imp, even though he falls in the front, you've got such a strong front line between Flame and Chuen. Now you've got your second of 2 damage dealers alive. They have to respect Wayless in this situation, and again, the flash kick is excellent mechanics from Chuen. It's good team fight play, but to play so smartly around a 2 threat comp, surprising from LGD, but excellent play.
I mean, that's exactly what I wanted to point out, though. Imp, who's looked so comfortable in Sivir, played one hell of a Sivir game, and his team and that comp was there 100% of the way. And Wayless, we almost undersold him a little bit there on Anivia, but he was a monumental player in that particular game.
And that's one of his pocket picks that kind of one of the reasons why Wayless is holding such high esteem is that he does have the pocket picks to deal with the meta champs. The Anivia worked a treat there. And the last point I'll make is that LGD played around the Draven pick better than any team I've seen him, because Crystal throws out the gambit so often and teams just haven't had an answer to it. In this case, that whole early game was set around allowing Sivir to get to the point where by the time team fights came, Draven just never could make an impact.
And such wonderfully elegant play there for LGD. But we have one more game for this evening. Guys, don't get anywhere. OMG versus King for the all-Chinese brawl is coming out because our last game of the evening right after this very quick break.